Hi folks, Thomas Henson here with thomashenson.com, and today is another episode of Big Data, Big Questions. Today I want to tackle IoT for data engineers. So I'm going to explain why IoT, or the Internet of Things, matters for data engineers and how it's going to affect our careers, how it's going to affect our day-to-day jobs, and honestly, just the data that we're going to manage. So find out more right after this. So today's question is, what is IoT and how does that affect the data engineers? Like we've probably seen the buzzword or the concept of the Internet of Things, but what does that really mean, right? So is it just these little dash buttons that we have, right? Is this, wait a minute, is that ordering something? But no, is this what IoT is? Or, is it the whole, ecosystem and concept around it? So, First things first. So IoT, or the Internet of Things, it's the concept of all these connected devices, right? And so it's not something that is, I will say, brand new. Something that's kind of been out there for a while. And I mean, when we really think about it, getting down to it, it is a sensor, right? So we have these sensors, these cheap sensors. We've had them for a long time. But what we haven't had is all these devices connected with an IP address to the internet that can send the data, right? That's the big part of the concept. Is it's not just about the sensor, it's about being able to move the data from the sensor, right? And so this gives us the ability to be able to, manage things in the physical world, bring them back, do some analytics on it, and even push data back out to it. The cool thing is, generally with, IoT devices, these are, I will say, economical or cheap devices that have an IP address that can just pull in information. So think about a sensor, if you have a smartwatch, right, that's connected to the internet and can, feed up information to you. That's kind of where some of it all started, to these dash buttons, right? So I can have these dash buttons all installed around my house, push a button whenever I need something, or, start to look at what we're talking about with smart refrigerators. So smart refrigerators can, take pictures and have images of your, the content that's in your refrigerator. So, if you're at the store, you're looking, you're like, hey, do I need that ranch dressing? Let me check in my refrigerator here. But also, a sensor could be inside the refrigerator to tell you if something's going wrong, right? Maybe the ice maker is blocked. Maybe you need a new water filter in your refrigerator, and the refrigerator knows that, has a sensor into it. It can send information to wherever to be able to order that water filter for you and send it to your home, so you don't even have to go in and remember, hey, has it been 90 days? Was it 60 days? Is it time to change it? And then you're going to forget, you're going to let it go over. But now you can you can have this sensor that's going to tell you, and it's going to order that for you. So that's kind of the concept. It's not just about the sensor, but it's about that ecosystem, right? It's about being able to move the data. So for data engineers, what does this mean? Why do we care? Well, there are a lot of predictions out there about IoT and where it's going. One of the big ones is Gartner has a prediction that by 2020 we will have over 20 billion of these devices. Well, not just the dash buttons, but just think of all these sensors, all these things with IP addresses connected to the internet. So what does that mean from a data perspective? Well, some numbers that I've seen are 44 zettabytes of data are some of the predictions that I've seen that's going to be contributed to new data that's coming in and the data that we have that's already existing. So think about, what is a zettabyte? It's not a petabyte. It's bigger than a petabyte, right? So how are we going to manage all this data when right now we're still managing terabytes and petabytes of data and being like, man, this is a lot of data? So that's why it's important for data engineers, is that's contributing to this, deluge of data. How does all that affect us as far as what are some of the concepts? So when we start talking about IoT and sensors and having these, having data on the edge, being able to pull information back, but also being able to push information out, what does that start to say? Well, as we've talked more and more about real-time analytics, this is where we're really going to start to see real-time analytics really taking hold, right? So as soon as we can get that data and be able to analyze it and push information back out, that's what's going to help us. So think about it with automated cars, with a lot of the things that are going on outside in the physical world where we have sensors and devices talking to devices. Streaming analytics is going to be huge in IoT. So the question becomes, if you're looking to get involved in IoT, what are some of the projects? What are some of the things you can do to contribute and be a part of this IoT revolution? I would look into some of the messaging queues. So look at Pravega, look at Kafka, even look at RabbitMQ and some of the other messaging queues, because think about it, as 20 billion devices, maybe more, by 2020, as these devices come in, they have to come into a queue, right? They have to be stored somewhere before they can be processed and before we can analyze them. So I would look into the storage aspect of that, but then also know how to do the processing. So look at some of your streaming processing, whether it be Apache Beam, whether it be Flink, or whether it be Spark. I would look into those if you're looking to get involved in IoT. If you have any questions, make sure you submit those in the comment section here below, or go to thomashenson.com/big questions. Submit your questions and I'll try to answer them on here. Until next time, see you again.